Many people wouldn't know that the ashes of Helen Keller and Woodrow Wilson were buried in the walls of the National Cathedral, but that's not the only interesting thing about it. Pierre L'Enfant's original design of the National Cathedral took years and years to build, but in the end it turned out to be a very beautiful place. From his very first design, Pierre L'Enfant included the idea of a national cathedral. President George Washington assigned Pierre L'Enfant to create a design plan for the national capital on January 24, 1791. Pierre L'Enfant first came up with the idea to build a church for the nation's purposes. Lot D was reserved for the church to be built on, but now this place is located by the National Portrait Gallery. In 1891, about a century later, there was a meeting to make the first plans to build a national cathedral. The cathedral was first planned to be a Christian cathedral. On January 6, 1893, Congress granted a charter to the Protestant Episcopal Cathedral Foundation to the District of Columbia. The charter signed by President Benjamin Harrison was the birth certificate of the National Cathedral. The charter established the cathedral, and the site on Mount St. Albans was chosen. Later on, Bishop Satterlee chose Frederick Bodley as the head architect for the cathedral. Henry Vaughan was selected to be the supervising architect. After both Bodley and Vaughan passed away, American architect Philip Hubbard Frohman took over the design of the cathedral. The style was planned to be Gothic and the material Indian limestone. The cathedral's overall plan was to have all people to pray in, a church for the nation, and the chief mission church for the Diocese of Washington. Finally, the design was finished and they chose a location, and the construction was ready to begin. Construction of Washington National Cathedral took nearly a century to build. The cathedral's foundation stone was laid on September 29, 1907, which started the years of construction in D.C. President Theodore Roosevelt was there when the first cornerstone was laid. Each stone was set in human hands and rested on a bed of spread with a mason's trowel. The final stone was placed on the Washington National Cathedral on September 20, 1990, weighing 1,008 pounds. When construction of the cathedral began, architects styled the building after traditional 14th century English Gothic designs. More than 100 masons worked on the height of the construction, and it was completed 83 years later. The cathedral was designed to have flying buttresses, glass stones, wood screens, and all. Everything you see there was made by hand, including the building's stone, glass, and iron. Diator Goldcall built and installed 60 windows in the cathedral out of the 231 glass-stained windows. Diator Goldhall built and installed the largest and most dramatic window in the western entrance. He used more than 10,500 pieces of glass for the window, and it took more than 2,000 years to install it. Even though the windows took a while to install, the gargoyles took even longer. The installation of the gargoyles took almost as long as the 83 years it took to complete the cathedral. The last gargoyle was put in place in 1987. Even though the building took years to build, it was still open for all services while under construction. The year 2007 marks the church's 100 years since they began to build it. After the years of construction, the gargoyles, windows, and everything else were put up and ready to be viewed. Today is a beautiful place to visit, tour, and most of all to worship in. Washington's National Cathedral is Gothic and so appears to be older than it really is. The cathedral closely resembles the ancient cathedrals in Europe. Washington National Cathedral has towers, gargoyles, columns, and a high vaulting inside. In the corner of the cathedral is a stone sculpture of Abraham Lincoln, his elector's speech carved in the wall, and Lincoln pennies embedded in the floor. Also, there is a small cross in the back of the chapel that came from the rubble of the Pentagon after the 9/11 attacks. There are 200 stained glass windows in the cathedral, but not all of them are religious. In one window, it is an image of Apollo II journey to the center of the moon, and there is a tiny piece of real moon rock to help prove the point. Another main window is the rose window. It is located in the western entrance and is the largest stained glass window in the National Cathedral. Early on, some of the stained glass was even filmed in order to make it look old. The word gargoyle comes from the French word gargoyle, which means throat. They are used to protect from evil spirits. Gargoyles were also put up in cathedrals to scare people into behaving themselves, to show images of man's dreams, and just for entertainment. There are many different gargoyles, such as Darth Vader, Star Wars villains, a wild boar, an angel playing the bongos, a dragon, a skull, and many more. There are also representations of Eskimos and American Indians. The gargoyles are just more than decoration. They also help drain the water in the cathedral. There are 110 gargoyles in this building. People can even watch a slideshow about the gargoyles and walk around with binoculars to see them up close. The main body of the church is called the nave, which has the altar and choir room. Another part of the church is the labyrinth. The labyrinth is a sacred pattern that leads you on a path to its center and back out again. Walking through the labyrinth is a way of praying with the body and having a conversation with the heart and soul. So many people have come to this cathedral and have seen all the beautiful features. To this day, the National Cathedral is still known for its architectural design and is visited by many different people. People always enjoy their visit here and love to see where Helen Keller was buried in the wall.